Hello, this is Christian, and this is the first Maxpatch, which is the one which I used with one can going up and down. It's quite simple. It just sort of stacked things, sort of going from top to bottom. So from top we have the Arduino input here, which unpacks serial data taken in. I used this patch on a previous music computing project, so it's got more inputs than it needs. But for the one can, it only needs two inputs, which are, this one is for the up and down motion, and this is for the swinging motion. So the up-down value is taken in and sent and received here, and scaled between the two values, between the bottom where it is and top where it is, to 0 and 8. And these values cycle between 8 chords, which are in this coal patch, which are formed of 5 different notes. So if I scroll, you can hear it doing what it's doing. You hear there's a portamento as well. This is just the time in samples of how it works, and it's used by taking in the frequency values and then smoothing between it when they each change with this ramp smooth objects, which kind of does it automatically. And you can set the time for its smoothing in samples quite easily. So the call object outputs a chord and it's unpacked into 5 different frequencies, which you can see here. And each time you change it, they change to different ones. And those frequencies are sent through the glides into a cycle object, which just outputs sine waves. The cycle objects here are modified by this modifier subpatch, which is based on the swing of the can, which you hold, so how when you move it towards yourself and back again. And this also takes in the call information and unpacks it, multiplies it by 2, so it gives you a brighter sound when it modifies that sine wave. It's also sent through the glide, so it's doing the same thing as the other sound, so it doesn't become discordant when it's modifying. And then sent out as a sine wave, and then its gain is controlled by this here, which is the swing motion input 2, which is scaled again to change the gain. You can hear it here. It's quite a nice sort of sound. And that gain is just sent to this the phase of the sine wave, so it's very quickly modifying the phase of the sine wave. There is a harmonic control section, which is up here on the right hand side. It's taken from an organ patch that I made a while ago, which had sort of kind of almost drawbars, I guess, which is just changing harmonics of an organ, which is why it's called harmonics, but it actually changes the level of each note in the chords. And it controls the change in volume using sine waves. So this first knob here changes how quickly they go up and down. You can see here on this multi-slider, they're all going up and down. You can probably hear it as well. I like to set it around sort of 0.2 or 0.15ish, so it's quite slow. And then this second control changes the phase, so I'll show you how it does it. You can see it's changing. These are all kind of going up in like a sort of Mexican wave almost. So now I'll explain how it all works, like how this harmonic phase and thing work, which is through this subpatch here, which is called harmonic control. The rate is sent in through this inlet, and the phase is sent in through this inlet, and they all go to these different subpatches, which are all the same. So here's the rate of the change, which is just sent through this cycle wave and then converted to a number. And you can see it going sort of up and down quite slowly, so it's like an LFO. And then the phase is sent through here and received here, and then it's times by equal values between 1 and 2. So it's between like the bottom of a full cycle and the top of a full cycle, incrementally, equally. And as you increase it, it changes different the values, and it goes up to 5, I think. So there's some repeats of like how the phases change, but you can get these kind of funny effects if you keep going through it, because obviously it cycles back down. All of these values are packed together, so for the different phases, and they'll put into that little message box there and sent to this multi-slider, so you can see how the different phases are working. As you can see, they're kind of gone a bit funny now. They're not really going in a wave. And then this multi-slider value is sent to this gain subpatch, which is then packed together again, unpacked from the slider, and then controls each of these gain objects individually. And the gain goes out to the output, but also to a reverb, which is just a simple C verb. I think it's an Ableton reverb, I'm not quite sure, which sort of smooths together sounds as you change the notes. You can kind of hear it there. Turn up, but you'll be able to hear it more. Yeah, it's not the nicest reverb, but it kind of does the job. And you can set the seconds for the decay of it, and it's quite the higher it is, the more spacey it sounds. And then they're all outputted here just through an easy DAC. So yeah, that's how that subpatch works, and it's fairly simple.